You don't have a low IQ score because you're dumb. You have a low IQ score because you're black. IQ, or intelligence quotient, is a measure of your ability to reason and solve problems. It measures how well you did on a certain test compared to others within your age group.
Oh, okay, goddamn.
But it ain't all so simple.
What do you mean by that?
Alfred Binet's intelligence scale, which is the prototype of the Stanford-Binet IQ test that we all use today, was solely developed for the purpose of identifying French children with developmental disabilities so they can get extra help while in school. He explicitly warned against the dangerous extrapolation of his work, such as using these tests to peg typical children and adults on a singular scale of permanent intelligence. But of course, y'all know white supremacists cannot follow directions, so notable American eugenicist Henry H. Goddard ignored Binet's warning, translated these tests into English, and then pushed for their widespread use. Now, before we get into the harmless causes, do y'all even know what eugenics is?
Since you got your degree and you know every fucking thing.
Well, if you don't, eugenics is the inaccurate scientific theory that human beings can be improved through selective breeding of certain populations. And for years, eugenicists struggled to craft a compelling argument for these theories until 1909, when the advent of Binet's intelligence scale gave rise to standardized intelligence testing, also known as IQ testing.
Oh, what?
Now, back in these days, eugenicists ran the streets and gained a lot of political power. And being equipped with this new white supremacist tool, they had a plan. So in 1917, immediately following the United States entry into World War I, Robert Yerkes, who was a Harvard professor as well as the president of the American Psychological Association, routed up the country's leading eugenicists to work on a project for the U.S. Army.
What was the reason?
Remember I said Binet didn't want his tests used for anything other than what they were intended for?
Yes.
Well, that's exactly what this project with the Army led to. Unintended widespread use.
I don't understand that. I really just can't comprehend it.
This project with the Army was to develop a group intelligence test as well as a group intelligence scale. During World War I, standardized testing was used to separate 1.5 million soldiers into units segregated by race and by test scores. And though these tests were scientific, they were extremely biased, with test makers over-selecting test items that white test takers would perform well on, but under-selecting test items that black test takers would perform well on, leading to nothing but inequitable outcomes. Army testing led to the greatest expansion of the school testing movement, still impacting us today.
Like I'm fed the fuck up, like literally.
By 1918, there were over 100 standardized tests, and by 1925, the U.S. Bureau of Education reported that intelligence and achievement testing was increasingly used to classify students at all levels. By the 1950s and 60s, top universities only wanted the smartest students, and their preference to identify who the brightest students were based on their test scores disproportionately impacted black students, who were overwhelmingly disenfranchised through these tests because of the biases baked within the exams.
I told y'all niggas.
According to the National Center for Fair and Open Testing, black students on average score lower on college admissions tests, impacting their ability to get merit scholarships, which then contributes to the racial gap that we see within college admissions, college enrollments, and college graduations.
Girl, what's going on?
Black students, especially males, are disproportionately placed or even misplaced into special education simply based on these test results.
Nothing new, nothing changed, same old shit.
The use of high-stakes testing perpetuates racial inequalities, and though most test makers do scan their tests for obvious bias, their efforts do not detect underlying bias that might be baked into the form or content of the test.
It was all a lie.
These biases have long-ranging and damaging consequences not only for students and their families, but also for the economic well-being of their communities. So no,